So this session is going to be
moderated by David Adeleke.
Please, a round of applause by David Adeleke.
He's the founder Communique. Please,
a round of applause for David Adeleke one more time.
Well done. I thought you were Davido, because like David
I've been curious. Are you related to Davido by any chance?
No, I wish.
All right, please, a round of applause for David.
All right.
Time.
Good afternoon, everyone. All right, so. Sorry, I'm supposed to sit in the middle. So this is the money panel, as they said, which I think means everyone is going to pay attention. So I'm going to introduce our panelists and welcome them on stage. As I call their names and their designations, please, I know that we've been here since morning. Just put your hands together for them. Okay, let's practice. Please put your hands together for yourselves. Please put your hands together for yourselves. All right, fantastic. First of all, please welcome with me Mr. Jide Shikpe. Correct? All right. He is the group head of brand transformation and digital marketing at the Bank of Industry. If you want money from him, please put your hands together. Look at you people. Next, we have Wale Ajiboye, Alliance Coordinator, Growth Firms Alliance. Please put your hands together for him. Then we have someone I respect very much. Mr. Ugodre Obichukwu is the founder and CEO, Naira Metrics. Please put your hands together. And finally, we have Oludayo Adeniji. He is partner, tax, regulatory, and people services at KPMG. All right. So, don't worry, I'm not reading citations this time around, but I'm going to give everyone on the panel 30 seconds to introduce themselves. Can we do that? 30 seconds, please. We'll start with you, Mr. Wale. Yes, everyone has a mic.
My name is Wale Ajiboye. My current job, I work for network of philanthropic organizations, IKEA Foundation, Visa Foundation, where we're thinking about how we unlock SME finance and also resources across emerging economies.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jide Shikpe, Group Head Brand Transformation and Digital Marketing at the Bank of Industry. Basically, what we do at the Bank of Industry is how do we fund businesses and how do we look for businesses where we can transform their model. We can also build industries in different sectors just to create impact within the Nigerian economy.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
All right. Hello, everyone. Good to be here. My name is Ugo. I am the founder of Naira Metrics. We're a news and data research platform. So we cover the Nigerian economy, mostly from a data-driven perspective. So whether it's macroeconomies, whether it's personal finance, whether it's even industries. So anything that has to do with data and finance, that's what we cover. Thank you.
Awesome.
Hello, everybody. My name is Dayo Adeniji. I'm a partner in the Tax, Regulatory and People Services Unit at KPMG. I'm not a tax collector, because when people hear tax, they just think about this guy is here to collect taxes. No. I advise companies, individuals on how to plan their affairs to ensure that you don't pay one kobo more than you should pay from a tax perspective. I focus on M&A transactions. So when doing acquisition, mergers, and transactions of that nature, there are tax implications. So I advise on the tax implications of those kind of transactions. Thank you.
Awesome. And my name is David Adeleke, obviously not Davido. I run Communique, a media and intelligence company focused on the creative economy, which is, it's very interesting because right now it seems the creative industry or the creative economy is all anyone seems to talk about. It reminds me very much of 2014, 2015 when the tech ecosystem was just picking up, and so slowly it went from a group of young people in a room somewhere who don't really know what they are doing to something that has become so integral to Nigeria's image globally. And the same is happening with the creative economy. So My first question for everyone is, and I want everyone to speak on this very briefly. When you think about this industry, right, what do you see as the biggest area for growth from the perspective of the creative economy? When you look at the industry, where do you think the biggest growth is going to, or the biggest elements of growth are going to come from? Let's start with you, Mr. Wali.
I don't want to be controversial, because I wear different hats, but I would say the model has to work for our people. I think too many times we talk about the creative space, we talk about money, we talk about all the different things, but we're not thinking about why is it that we're still talking about creative space and we're looking for money about it. Everybody can see that Afrobeat has been working, Nollywood has worked. We've seen all these things. The reality is happening. We have a lot of things happening. By the way, maybe 10 years ago, one of the, I'm trying to remember their name now, comic companies came into the country, went to Mushin, down here, got a lot of young people who developed different graphics for them, and one company bought the right of just one of those images for 10 million naira. So I'm talking about 10 million naira 15 years ago in Mushin. So if a company is leaving the US to come into Lagos and go into Mushin to go and take something, and they're using it, there is something there. I think we haven't gotten the model right. I think we have so much. I used to ask people about, have you heard about a guy called Gunde? He speaks an impeccable English. At Baba Salah, we don't understand those things. The creative sector has worked for years. It's not new. People have actually built this industry through their sweat and blood. They've done it. What we're not getting is the model. How does it work for the people? How does it work for the guy who has the investment, like the Bank of Industry? They have ideas, has so much money on the table for developing finance. They have so much money. Why is it not getting to the guys who can do it? Our model is not correct. I think that there's a lot that we need to do in terms of that. I think once we are able to get that and get that going, it makes sense to a Bank of Industry to understand that it can unlock $1 billion, $1 billion into the space, whether from graphics, from comics, from storytelling. There are so many things happening behind the scene that we're not paying attention to. And I think for me, business model, how it works, how they connect the value chain from the drinks company to the media company, because they are all connected. From fashion, they are all connected. But if you work in silos and you're pretending you're a big guy, I think we need a lot more humility in this space. Because otherwise, we're going to be speaking big grammar, but we are not on the table where the money is happening. We're not on that table. And I think that's my interest.
Yeah.
That's my interest.
I agree with you, because that's the work I'm doing, so I agree with you. Jide?
Okay, so I'm just going to leverage on what Wale said. I think there's a lot of individual achievements within the digital and creative space, and there's no structure. And when I'm talking about structure, we need to begin to form more partnerships and collaborations. Instead of coming together, I think that space is basically separating themselves. There's a lot of division. People want to be known to have been able to achieve this, but on an individual level. Now, if you look at how banking transformed, if you look at how insurance, telecoms, the telecom industry, oil and gas, and all of that stuff, you realize that it's not an individual mindset or an individual trying to achieve something. It's about creating a structure. Now, if you don't create that structure where if there are 2 or 3 people doing something solid, and we put it together to create an industry, an organization with a proper structure, what you realize is that there'll be individual achievement, but it's not going to create that momentum that you want. So I think the best way for us to start to transform that industry is, how do people create structures where they begin to bring value? I have the value that I bring. The other person has the value that he brings, and then we aggregate it, and then we create an industry from that idea or from that space.
Okay, awesome. So modeling, structure.
All right, thanks. Let me first recognize my guys, Tolu and Tyro, two people I really respect. I didn't see them earlier. Guys. All right, good question. I think you said, where do we see growth, or
Yes.
So, I'm not in the entertainment business, but we do track entertainment, and I also track data a lot. Here's one thing the pattern that I've seen. and for those of you in the entertainment industry, I've kind of figured that what really works and what really sells is a lot of originality. So whenever Nigerians, those in the creative industry, try to be very original. When I mean original, I mean originally Nigerian or originally African, not trying to be Drake or trying to be, someone else that is not Nigerian. That's when value is actually really created. And that value most times meet opportunities. And somebody mentioned CK's Love Wanting It. That song, I recall, existed months, if not a year before it blew. And it blew because it was original, and then there was an audience that was just yearning for something original. And there was now, a platform that could essentially distribute that content. And those things exist now because you have TikTok, you have Instagram, you have X, you have different kind of platforms now that can essentially move a song that you just recorded in your bedroom and somebody in Japan is listening to it. And so I think the more original that we get, the more value that we can create. And I think that's really where the focus should be. And then secondly, without talking too much, is also the fact that on the average, I think Nigeria probably has if not the first, I think the second youngest population in the world. And so that is a lot of influence across the world. I give you an example. I was in New York recently, and one of the biggest restaurants in Times Square
Lagos.
is called Lagos.
Yep.
And it's not just called Lagos. I've seen a lot of bars and restaurants abroad that are named after African cities, and sometimes they're not necessarily African. But this one is so African that their cuisine is African. You see white people, African Americans, coming to eat jollof rice and asking for spice. So that's original, isn't it? So I think for me, that's really where the value is, and being able to package that very well and leverage on the distribution channels that we have, it's where you can start to make a lot of money. Thank you.
So originality, packaging, and distribution, right? All right.
Yeah, so for me, I think I align with Mr. Jide. It's really structure. I think it's very important, at least from my perspective and from the hat that I wear. We hear that this movie did X billion, or this artist sold out O2. There's a lot of money flying around in the industry. And from our perspective, we're like, we need to get a slice of this pie. How do we work for these guys? But obviously, we won't just work for anybody. You need to be working for, a client. Who is your client? What's the name of your entity? What are your? Do you have financial statements, financial reporting? So you find that, a lot of players in this industry, or some of the activities in the industry, are largely unstructured. For the man from BOI, if we were to give you, 1 billion funding, for instance, it's not just going to give it to you just because you are this person. There needs to be some models that we have to look at your forecast, your cash flow, maybe for the last, X number of years. So I think those things are lacking, even though we also see that those things are changing now. There are some deals that have occurred in the creative space. Some of them are in public domain. We're fortunate to be part of some of them. UMG, Universal Music Group, they acquired or they invested in Mavens recently. They wouldn't have been able to do that if there wasn't a structure in place. The global giants would not invest in your business if you don't have adequate structures in place. So that's, from my perspective, is one of the major things that I think it's
awesome.
lacking.
Thank you very much. And just a note, please, to the room. Hello, everyone, especially the servers. So there's a bit of ruckus that is distracting us in front. So if we can keep it quiet as much as possible, would appreciate it. Thank you very much. I want to follow up on what you just said, right? It's one of the things that creatives or people in the creative industry do not seem to understand is why, or is the importance of things like tax. Little things like that, or in quotes, seemingly little things like that, they don't seem to bother people in the creative industry. But if you were to advise someone who wants to structure their business in a way that makes it attractive to investors, like BOI, for instance, what would you tell them? What would you tell them to pay attention to?
Well, in terms of, taxes or being compliant, because I think that's what you're alluding to in terms of being compliant. It's first of all, you need to have a vehicle. What's your vehicle? That's maybe your entity, your business. You can't be, you on your own can be a person, but there needs to be a distinction between yourself and your business. When you then set up a business, putting in place the things that most businesses would have would entail maybe having a proper, who are your shareholders, what kind of company have you set up? For different kind of companies, there are minimum shareholding, your financial statements, are you putting those things in place? When you have your financial statements, all those other things will then follow in terms of whether you're filing returns, whether it's at the company's registry, CAC, or whether you're paying your taxes to whether it's the FRS or LRS, depending on the kind of company you're creating. Obviously, if it's not a a business name, if it's an incorporated entity, obviously, you will be dealing more with the federal authority because then it's an incorporated entity. So that creates a clear distinction between you as a person and then your business.
Awesome. Ugo, so you started Nairametrics many years ago. It was just you. And over time, you started to, bring in more people on the team. So as you were building your team and expanding, what were some of the things that you had to think about in terms of structure, optimizing for growth beyond? Because I think for some time, you sort of stepped away from the business, but the business continued to run. So what were some of the things that you had to think about and you had to optimize for?
All right, good question. So I think one of the mistakes that entrepreneurs do, because most times as an entrepreneur, you're really driven by your dreams. You want to just start to execute off the bat and start to create. Now, the mistake that often happens is they then forget that you need to really have a foundational structure that is enough to carry, that is strong enough for the future. So it's almost like you're trying to build a 12-story building. You don't have all the money. You can only build one floor. But your foundation has to be strong enough to carry the entire 12 stories, isn't it? Yeah. Exactly. So for me at the time, I think maybe I was lucky because my experience is finance. I was a chartered accountant. So from then on, within the first few months when I decided this was going to be a business, I registered a company straight up. And when I registered a company, some of my first hires also spoke to a structure. So my first hire was an admin person who I knew was going to help start to hire staff. My next hire was a marketing person. The next hire was a finance, an accountant, right? And of course, I then had me, behind the scenes and a few people who were contributing towards, content, right? So, but the structure was I had an admin, I had marketing, and I had finance. Straight up from then on, and these guys were being paid because I knew that at some point I might be looking for investors, so I need to have my accounts done. And even if I'm not looking for investors, the tax guys are going to come knocking, and if not, or I was using my own fund. I was basically bootstrapping, so I also didn't want to mix my own money with the business money because I already learned from some of the people that I helped manage their businesses. And so I knew that I needed to have separate books of accounts. And then, of course, marketing. I can't be the jack of all trades. So you had somebody who's got to be there and looking at how, we can think of monetization. So I think for a lot of people, no matter how small that business is, you always need to plan. Like in your planning, say, look, at some point, I'm going to need to have an accounts person. Even if you can't afford one, you can outsource it. At some point, I'm going to need to have HR person because it can't be only you. Part of growth is when you start to hire people. So who's going to help you hire those people, right? So you got to have that person by the side. It might cost you, but trust me, you would always, the value that gets for you is a lot better. So now I look back now and I realize I've actually had audited accounts every year since I've started. Because I've always had an accountant. And so because I've always had an accountant, part of his job is to get it audited. And so when he finishes, one way or the other, he gets to audit. Even from when maybe the entire balance sheet was 10 million. He was always auditing, So I think those are just some of the things that I would say that you should always do.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And that gives me hope because we've been auditing our accounts. So I'm very happy that we are doing that. So, Mr. Jide, so now say the Bank of Industry is interested in the creative industry. I know a few years ago there was a line of credit that was issued to certain kinds of businesses. So my question is, and for anyone in this room who is interested, again, this is the money panel, so please pay attention. For anyone who is interested, they are looking for some sort of investment or capital from the Bank of Industry. They approach you. What are some of the things that you look out for that could either qualify or disqualify a business from investment?
Okay, let me first make something very clear, because most times when people hear Bank of Industry, the first thing they are thinking of is government money, is free money, so we are taking a part of the national cake. So first of all, Bank of Industry doesn't give out free money. Now, Bank of Industry is a government-owned institution, government-backed institution, but we raise our own funds. Now, what it means is that the government is not necessarily giving you money. Government is just backing you to go and raise money. Now, what it means is that the money that I have is not mine. The money that I have is for other people. Now, I'm entrusted as a bank backed by the government to give out loans at a single-digit interest rate. That is where the idea of free money comes in. Because if I'm giving money at a single-digit interest rate, most commercial banks will give you 20-something and above. Bank of Industry is going to give you at 9% at the highest. However, to access that loan, what you realize is that a lot of people don't, and I'll go back to structure and the business model, because it's not free money. Because that money you are collecting, you must return it. I need to make sure that what I am giving the money for is utilized appropriately first. So I want to see your business model. Okay. I want to see the structure in your organization. I want to see your long-term plan. I want to see how profitable that business is. Because if that business is not profitable, now if you take note, I've not spoken about collateral or any of those things. I want to see how profitable that business is. Because if that business is profitable, there is some guarantee that I'm going to collect my money back. Now, there are other things you want to look at. Looking at the structure, looking at how the experience of the person that is coming to collect the loan. You want to look at the books. You want to make sure the forecast, everything. Now, there's a way you access the loan. Because we are not a deposit money bank, we are not a commercial bank, so we don't give loans to people directly. So basically, you can't come and open an account with Bank of Industry. Now, that goes back to structure. Because for us to give you money, we have to pay a commercial bank. Before we give the commercial bank the money, the commercial bank will give you a bank guarantee. Now, what that means is that you can't get a bank guarantee unless you have a relationship with your bank. Now, your bank is the one that will chase you for the money. Our own is, we have given you at 9%. Your bank is who you need to deal with to make sure that they can vouch for you to pay back that money. And the reason why, Bank of Industry is about 65 years, and the reason why we've lasted this long is because we don't necessarily lose money. And sometimes people say, if you don't lose money, how's that even good for businesses? Are we hardcore people that we tie your neck to something? No. The way we don't lose money, and that's why our rating is even higher than the sovereign rating. And that's why we can loan from international investors. We can loan from the World Bank. We can get money from IMF. Because if I give you money, I know that my money is coming back because I'm not giving you directly. I'm going to give your bank. Your bank guarantees that no matter what happens, if this business fails, Bank of Industry, be assured that I'm going to give you your money. Now, the problem a lot of people have, and that's why I'm going back to that individualistic mindset. If you don't have a relationship with your bank, it's difficult for us to give you money, especially when you're looking for good money. Now, we have grants. Don't forget that. We have grants. But the highest amount that we give for grants is 50,000 naira.
Do you want grant or you want real money?
So
there's a
I'm
difference.
telling you, so there are grants and there are loans, okay? And there are intervention funds. And I'll break it down, but if I have to start breaking everything down, we're going to be here for a while. So basically, have structure, have a business model, have a relationship with your bank. But the relationship with your bank means you have credibility. A lot of businesses in Nigeria don't have credibility. A lot of people don't do their books, so no tax record. A lot of people are evading tax. A lot of people are running from a lot of things. No structure, no model. Just so many things wrong with us. When I was in GT Bank, one of the problems we had giving out loans to people in the creative industry was their inability to pay back. Because when you look at their cash flow, there's a problem. And people don't even understand the issue of cash flow. Now, don't forget, I've not spoken about collateral. Your cash flow is more important than your collateral. So some people come and meet us and say, you know what, I have a house. I want to collect loan. Use the house as the collateral. But guess what? Your collateral is not as important, all right, as your cash flow. I want to see that there's money coming into that account, money passing through that account. Because I'll make money from floating income. I'll make money from transactional income. There's so many ways I can make money just from cash flow. So you see a lot of businesses today that they are not necessarily profitable, but they have very good cash flow. And that's why banks have good relationships with them. Hotel business is not really a profitable business. Airline is not a profitable business. All right? There's so many businesses that are not profitable. But guess what? They have cash flow. So when you look at your business, how do you ensure that you have cash flow?
Whew. Again, if you don't pay attention, you're on your own. I'm learning a lot. So my next question for you is, from your experience, right? And we've talked a lot about creative businesses and the mistakes they make, but from your own experience, what are some of the mistakes that you see with creative businesses who want to, again, they want to position themselves for investments, but they make mistakes along the way? Apart from some of the things that he has mentioned, what are some of those mistakes that you've seen, and how can they mitigate them?
Hello? All right. So these guys are extremely brilliant people, by the way. I hope you understand that. You need to pay attention to. I appreciate them because you need people like them. Because when it comes to money, there's no sentiment. There's no sentiment. And everything they're talking about is actually the right thing to do. But I'll tell you a story before I go there, because you see, the creative guys, you have to separate yourself. You're a product. You are not, some people have the talent, they don't understand the business side of things. And I'll tell you a story. I read a letter that was sent from Ilorin, 1945. And I'm saying that because, you see, on this other side, there's a lot of statements about structures, models. But a woman in a village in Ilorin doesn't understand cash conversion cycle. So I'll tell you what this story, I read this letter. So this woman wrote a letter to Lagos and said she was sending product to Lagos from Ilorin. And in the letter, she was in Yoruba. So she was saying, sell this product, these are the price lists, everything. But when you finish selling, buy this product and send back to Ilorin. Now, let me explain that from a friend, because Godre is here, he's a finance guy. She was saying that I don't want the money to waste time coming to me in cash. She's saying, I'm sending my products to you, sell it. When you are done, these products are missing in my village in Ilorin. Then buy another product and bring. In finance, that's cash conversion cycle. That's simple. But a woman in a village in Ilorin in 1945 doesn't understand all this English we're talking about, but she understands how money works. A lot of creative people forget that are not the real people that should understand, that should do the business. You shouldn't, because You as a talent, you're different from how the structure of business works. Because if you don't understand this language you're talking about, if you don't understand finance, you won't understand what it means. Which means if you have the talent and you have the creativity, separate yourself. So you are the operational person. Because if you go to America or go to places, you won't see any hospital, a medical doctor who owns the full company itself. It's only in Nigeria, you have the talent, you are the owner of the business. You can't do that. You will not make money. You will make money so you can be shining in your village, but you will not really make money. Because making money, what people don't understand, because I heard you talk about grants. When people see Ford Foundation or Gate Foundation, that's a business that made so much money and started giving grants out. Because every time they're on the table talking about grants, they understand how the world is going to work in the next 20 years. You are talking about your talents. So what has happened, why have we not made money, is because we confuse making money to the talent. That's the way I see it in the creative space. And if you want to make money, particularly now in Africa, every time there's chaos in Africa, money is being made. Don't even confuse. All the people that say that Nigeria is a useless country, continue, go to Canada, leave it to us. Continue, go to America, leave it to us, because we understand it. Because, you see, when there's chaos, there's money. Whether it's war, whether it's anything that's happening, people are making money off you. I met a guy, and I'll stop now in 30 seconds. This guy was doing cashew nuts. He was actually selling cashew nuts inside ShopRite. Because once your product is in ShopRite, for example, I hear fashion designer, he was making a lot of money in ShopRite. I have my product on the whatever, I'm selling this one. Guess what? In 10 months, he made 1 billion. How? Companies who are trying to who have FX problem. You guys understand it. They have FX problem. They know there's a fluctuation. To hedge that, they buy cashew nuts here, send it and buy their raw material. Those things are very technical things that you cannot even compete. So if you have an idea and you're really good, take your idea, give it to people like this who can interpret it in the language that makes sense. Otherwise, you'll be saying there's no money, but I can tell you how much money has moved in the last 6 months. I can tell you how much money has moved in this space, in Nigeria, in America, in Congo, all kinds of places. You are saying there's no money. There's money. The problem is that we all want to be on the stage. If you want to be on the stage, be a public speaker now, but you will not make money. Accept that reality, because these guys are saying the same thing. People were making us when they were talking, but you see, for those who understand how money works, they listen to them. And that's why I'm saying we need to change the way we see our continent and the way we see ourselves and the opportunity.
Okay, so we have time for a start. We'll take 2 questions from the audience, and then if we have time for more, we have less than 5 minutes. So the first 2 people.
So I have a question. And this is for...
You are the MC.
I know.
That's cheating.
Regardless, I'm going to ask my question. This is directed towards Mr. Jide Shikbe. So in 2023, I convened a summit. It was an Empower Her Summit and an exhibition that had over 100 female entrepreneurs. What that summit was aiming to do basically was to provide business owners, female business owners, and that's because there was a lagging in terms of access to funding opportunities for women in Africa. But let's narrow it down to Nigeria. So what that summit was aiming to do basically was to train female business women on how to build a business, how to structure it, because you talked about structure, and which is why which is also one of the reasons why a lot of businesses in Nigeria are failing. I mean, last year and 2023, over 7 million businesses failed, and also due to research or due to reports, 80% of businesses fail in the first 5 years, and that's because there is a lagging in terms of information, education, awareness on the rudiments to how to run a proper business and sustain it in Nigeria. Now, where you come in is because I approached Bank of Industry for partnership that didn't work out for some reason. Well, my business model was good, but I don't know why that didn't work. That partnership didn't work out. Right. But what is Bank of Industry doing to sort of bridge that gap? because there is a knowledge gap. And that's what a lot of businesses are feeling. But so what is Bank of Industry doing in intentionally ensuring that they close that gap?
Okay. Thank you very much. So one of the things that I'll quickly tell you is banks and a lot of organizations are changing their sponsorship models these days. And I'll give an example. I've been approached several times to sponsor seminars and programs. But one of the first things I ask myself is, what is the tangible impact of this conference? If this conference is going to assure me that we're going to have 5 businesses that we are going to create a plan for, mentorship and all of that stuff, and we will empower them, and they will be able to help them to succeed, then I will be able to sponsor that. But you know what happens? And this is just, I'm just trying to divert before I go to your question. Most times, there's too many talks, seminars, and conferences and all of that stuff, but they are just not yielding results. Honestly, if we could do less talk and go into more impact-related programs, there'll be more support, there'll be more sponsorship, there'll be more grants or money dedicated to those programs. A lot of people want to talk. A lot of people want to be on the screen. But a lot of people are not thinking about, how do I look at your business? How do I say, you know what, I want to take your business from point A to point B. And we sit together and we create a program, not a seminar, a program that ensures that people are empowered, ensures that we are creating jobs, ensures that women are being empowered. Now, let's take that aside. Now, we have a program that we are launching soon. It's called GLOW. Now, don't forget that Bank of Industry is a government-owned institution. Let's just picture an NGO, okay? But an NGO that is a government NGO. So basically, they are supposed to do good. But in doing good, they want small money back so that they can pay me a salary, all right? But this is what we do. We want to give you money at a cheap rate so that you don't struggle to pay back. Now, there's a program or a product that we've just developed, and we're going to put it out in the market. It's called GLOW, Guaranteed Loan for Women. Guaranteed Loan for Women. But I'm still going to look at your books. I'm still going to look at your structure. I'm still going to look at everything around your business to make sure that it's successful and a viable business. And you can now apply for it. But don't forget, another problem we have is we have millions of people trying to apply for this thing. So put yourself in the position where you are most likely to access the loan. A lot of people will tell them, fill a form. They'll be complaining about, why are you asking me for this information? Why are you asking me for that information? Why do you want to know this? But guess what? It's like you want to apply for a visa. You won't complain about that. But when you want to apply for a loan and we ask you for all sorts of things, people just get tired and frustrated and they just move on. So people also need to put themselves in a position to succeed. Because don't forget, it's not free money. Thank you.
Okay, so we can only take that her. Just her. And then, please, your question in 30 seconds.
Okay,
please.
Good afternoon, everyone. I think Mr. Jide has even answered a bit of the question I'm about to ask. First off, I would like to mention that these are actually powerhouses sitting down here. Mr. Jide was my boss back at GT Bank when I was a very young executive. So honestly, he has really honed this space, and I must commend what he said so far. So my question actually is, first off, and it's for you, Mr. Jide, does Bank of Industry do seed funding? Like the way venture capitalists do and angel investors, that's one. Now, secondly, saying that you've answered my question. No, sorry. He has answered a little bit of it, but I just want to put some
time.
context.
We're out of time.
I'm not wasting time, I'm sorry. So, what is...
Okay, all right, we have 5 more minutes. Fantastic,
just
so
to
please.
ask about what are we doing, what are we putting in place? Because the truth is that when we talk about financial literacy, we think it's just for people that are unbanked, but there are some of us, or should I say people that are literate, that don't know much about finance, and they feel like it's until when they go to business schools. And there are some people that cannot even afford it. What are we doing to, bridge that gap? Because like a lot of things he has said today, many don't know. And we think that the only time we have access to this information is when we go to business schools. But I mean, how do we talk about having summits, seminars where we can bring people together to learn these things, especially on financial literacy, so that they can help us to know what it is we're asking for confidently,
All
and
right.
we can get solutions for these things. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. So let me answer the second question first. In terms of getting information, do you know when I was doing the research on this seminar, even some things I was even shocked that there's so much information, so much funding, so much money out there that a lot of people are not researching. All right? Researching. Now, CBN has its own creative finance scheme, something like around that. I mean, BOI has a nonny fund, for instance. There's something that we are doing with Dangote that is almost like so there's Dangote Foundation and there's a BOI fund. There's that. There's MTN and BOI fund. A lot of banks,
Connects.
there's Afri-Exim as well. So a lot of organizations have those type of things that you just need to do your research. Go to all these different sites, go to their social media pages. You will see opportunities there for you that you can access a lot of loans and a lot of funds. What I will say is this: spread your tentacles. Don't just rely on a BOI or an Afri-Exim. Check everywhere. Get all the seeds, all the funding that you can get from any possible area. Now let's go back to seed funding. How many people know Jade Sola or Shiberu? Now Jade Sola has done, I think she's produced about 3 movies. The first movie that she produced was, I think, Isoke. Yeah?
Fantastic
That was
movie.
something that we funded. But I'll tell you how that came about. She proved to us that she had a successful model. And by the time we looked at the revenue, what she was potentially going to do, our level of experience, we knew it was going to be a successful business. Now we sponsored that. Now the last 2 that she did on Prime TV, that was also another form of seed funding. You know what happened? She got a letter, almost an indemnity. Now sometimes if you can't get a bank guarantee, we get almost like an indemnity from an organization to say, you know what, we want you to produce something and we will pay you, but we will not give you the initial money for it. We want you to go ahead and produce. So when we see those type of guarantees or those type of letters, it's easy for us to support those businesses because we already know you have a backing to return or repay the money. Do you understand? So even when we say seed funding, sometimes it's not necessarily, yes. Who gave her?
Who gave Jade Sola the...
So for Jade Sola, there was a fund called Nolly Fund, and she applied for that. And that was how she was able to access it. So,
This is a master
just to
class
quickly
now.
round up, there are so, and this is not just about BOI. A lot of organizations have sector-focused funding. So go and look for those sector-focused funding that are related to your business, and that might just be a resourceful material for you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I am learning a lot too. Okay, so one more question and we are done. All right, Amma.
So
Also,
my
to whom your question is directed, so just let us know.
Okay, so my question is for you, David and Ugo.
I'm not a panelist though.
So the question is, okay, so for Ugo, right?
Okay.
But I wanted you to be part of it because...
Okay, he will speak. If there's time, I will add.
Okay, so digital landscape in Nigeria is pretty challenging, right? But I don't think it's a Nigeria-specific problem. It's a global problem because it's hard to be profitable from media. Now, I know Nairametrics, a lot of the articles are free to read. And why I wanted David to weigh in is Communique is premium, like you have to pay a subscription. I think there's also Stairs that is subscription based. So I'm just curious about, of course, there's also the data side of Nairametrics, which I assume that it's something companies pay for, is data insights. What I'm curious about is, Wale talked about the model. I'm curious about the free-to-read model, how profitable that is, because I've worked in media previously. I currently work in fintech. So it's like there is the money side and then there is the media side. And a lot of the media, like Pulse, like Zikoko, like Big Cabal, Tech Cabal, they operate you're like free to access, but then it's like B2B in terms of payment in terms of generating money. So people are basically, they're basically monetizing from eyeballs. They're selling eyeballs. And then they're like the OGs of the digital revolution, like BuzzFeed, they're struggling. And then in the context of the New York Times, that is like you pay a subscription. So bringing it back here, I'm curious about that model, how profitable that is in the context of people who are not necessarily news, but they also want to do media but are struggling to monetize.
All right, brilliant question. Unfortunately, this is one topic that we can go on for an hour. Yeah, because I have my own views about it. But before I even respond, just to also talk about this borrowing thing, right? So I think it's also important that you all know that Nigeria is not America, Nigeria is not UK. When it comes to anything that has to do with funding, apart from structures and all this big grammar that we've said, there are two other things that really matter. It might sound very strange, but they do matter. One is relationships. Who you know is still number one. Because if you don't know somebody who knows this man, you can't walk into his office. If you like, have the best idea in this world, or show that you have profit forever, it will not happen. Then, secondly, favor. Favor is so underestimated. Trust me. There's somebody that can just walk in and you just take a liking to the person. This person English you just like his English or his looks. That also helps. So I think it's always important that, because a lot of us don't realize those things matter. So as much as you're working on your books and your financials, you got to also work on those two things. So that's why some of you are here, because this is a leveler. If you're not here, there's no way you meet this man here, right? This man now knows a lot of people who probably are looking for you, but he's here. So what are you doing with the fact that he's here? So I think it's just something that I thought I should just...
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Now, to your question, I think the previous audience kind of alluded to it, and the previous panel, I beg your pardon. You got to understand what your model is. It's very important. Let's understand that new media is still evolving. I think that's what a lot of people don't get. So they think that we've already landed on a model that works. No. Because in this world, we've come to realize that the likes of Financial Times and New York Times can coexist where there is the information that is purely subscription-based, and when there is Axios that is purely free and runs a newsletter model, and then where, of course, you also have to look at your location, where you're in Nigeria, where the average purchasing power is very low. Think about it. If the likes of Amazon Prime or Netflix are struggling with subscription in Nigeria, right? They're struggling. Even the likes of DSTV are struggling with subscription in Nigeria. What sort of product do you really have that can allow people to pay for consumption? Because, hey, you go on and you invest in very good content and news, and you really research, you send your reporters around the world, they do all the investigation, and then you come up with a hit story, okay? Strictly for your subscribers, Abi? It's fine. And then Instablog just carries it with just one paragraph. That is really all the consumer wants to know. All the rest you're putting there is not his business. All he wants to know is this so and so has happened. And then the comment section will be 100,000. Then your own that you put all the money and you wrote all the thing is just 5 comments. That's it. So you also need, so there's several things that you need to, because even at Nairametrics, we continue to study what's going on around, locally, outside, try to learn what our readers want to read, what they value, what they want to pay for. And then at the same time, you still have to be a viable business. That's always the most important thing. So that thing that is putting food on your table, that is giving you cash flow, continue to invest in that, right? Because that is probably the model that's working for you, while you then put your ears close to the ground and start to figure out what is that future cash flow that will keep you forever. Because my own business, I want to last forever. Let's not even forget AI. AI is also there. AI now, if you just wake up now and just go to Perplexity or is it ChatGPT, please give me the latest news in Nigeria. I don't need to go to anywhere else again. It will just, everything is there. So that as well means you now have to start to ask yourself, okay, so where do I belong in this whole space, right? So that is why today, even musicians have realized that those of us who really like hardcore, 4 minutes, straight up hip-hop rap music, we're different from my own kid who is 17, who just thinks any song that is longer than 2 minutes is just a bit like, Daddy, what are they saying? This song should be done by now, because that's what she's used to, right? So my own is that just understand, the space that you're in, the location and in the business model. I think it works for you. Thank you.
Awesome. You still want me to talk? Everything you said. No, but really, it's about understanding your audience, right? As you know, we operate a freemium. Are you listening? We operate a freemium model, which means one newsletter is free in a month. The remaining 4, at least the flagship newsletter, the remaining 4 are paid. But what we are playing is a long game. We know that what we are doing is building IP for a very long time to come. And again, they started doing video. I love your videos, by the way. They started doing video. They were not doing video before. They started doing video. And a lot of the videos, I don't even know if you know this, but if you watch the videos very well, they are based on a lot of the work that you guys have done in the past. So now they have this whole bank of IP that they can start to repurpose. It's similar to what we are doing. We see a future where, and I'm sorry, I may be revealing some things I'm not supposed to reveal. A business person is here, but I'm sorry. We see a future where some of the things that we've written in the past could become documentaries. Do you understand? They could become short films. For instance, one of my idols, Andrew Ross Sorkin, he's a producer on the show Billions. He's a New York Times reporter and a CNBC anchor. He co-produced a movie. I see a future where Communique has enough IP behind a paywall, so it's not everybody that knows it, right? But that IP, we can repackage it, maybe sell it to Netflix for $5 million, and so all the years of hard work finally pays off. So again, we are playing a long game, right? It depends on who you are targeting. I target people like Ugodre and Mr. Jide Shikpe, right? So the people who have money to pay for the kind of stuff that we do. Do you understand? But not everybody has them in mind when they are publishing their content. And the style of content is also very different. So what that now means is we are shaping our business in such a way that even if some of the content is behind the paywall, there are other elements of our business that can serve. For instance, we have events. We have community events we do every quarter. We have sponsors. We have academy programs. That we, again, stay alive long enough. Don't die. That's the first principle of business. You are laughing, but that's the first principle of business. Don't die. You stay alive long enough, and people were doubting Amazon when he first came out. How can you be selling books? And now look at him, buff, riding all over the place in helicopters, and dining with presidents. But it wasn't always like that in the beginning. You stay alive long enough, you see the rewards. But that would be my own answer to your question. We don't have time for any more questions. I hope this panel has been good for you. Please put your hands together for the panelists.
Okay, please can we jam our hands together for our awesome panelists? Make some noise! Wow. He choke, I be no choke. He choke, I be no choke. That's awesome.